just got mixed up on what day the debate is going to be had. It's going to be held this Thursday, and the vote will be on Monday, and all Canadians will be watching who's on the side of Canadian workers.
All right, so the day that we have been waiting for, tensions built up, Justin Trudeau in the House, Pierre in the House, and we are ready for David versus Goliath. Well, you're going to have to stick around and see how things turn out, but tensions were through the roof. They were astro-freaking-nomical in Parliament in question period today, and that's what we're going to be taking a look at, because everybody's anticipating Pierre Poilievre to call the vote of non-confidence, or to put forward a motion of non-confidence, and to have the politicians actually vote to see if we get an early election. And he's leaps and bounds ahead of Justin Trudeau. He's playing not 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D chess. He's playing like 5D chess, which is why he didn't do it yesterday, and everyone is anticipating it happening today. So stick around for the full thing and see how Pierre Poilievre walks complete circles around Justin Trudeau. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I want to encourage y'all to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It does really help grow the channel. And without further ado, here we go.
Oral questions.
Oral questions. Questions. I don't believe the opposition should be next Prime Minister Canada, Pierre Poilievre.
Mr. Speaker, whether one thinks that President Trump's tariff threats are a negotiating tactic or a real plan, what we do know is what we can control. And the Prime Minister has lost control of everything. He's lost control of the borders, lost control of immigration, lost control of spending and the deficit, lost control of inflation and housing costs, lost control of his own caucus. This has put Canada in an unbearably weak position. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister reverse all the damage he's done, or will he just call a carbon tax election so we can do it for him?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I think the Leader of the Opposition needs to reflect carefully on whether he really wants to amplify the erroneous narratives that the Americans are putting forward around, for example, our border, when less than 1%
is he calling it factually
incorrect?
incorrect?
States irregularly come from Canada, where 0.2% of fentanyl coming into the United States comes from Canada. These are things that we would all do well to stand up and say, yes, there's things we can and are working on together at our border, but amplifying these broken narratives is simply not responsible leadership.
Dude, America's about to swallow Canada. Come on, we need new leadership.
Breaking things is not responsible, Mr. Speaker, and that's what he's been doing for 9 years. My job is not to cover that up for him. In fact, he's broken our economy. He's doubled the cost of housing, doubled the national debt, doubled trouble across our economy with higher taxes on working Canadians. He's in the process of raising taxes on investment and energy right now, while an American incoming president wants to take our jobs and our businesses. It's understandable why President Trump wants Canadian jobs to go south, but why does this Prime Minister want to help him do it?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we recognize that Canadians are facing challenging moments, which is why we are stepping up to deliver for them, whether it's by delivering a tax break over the next few months that the Conservatives are totally opposed to, whether it's by delivering a national school food program that is already helping thousands of Canadians across the country that the Conservatives oppose, whether it's delivering dental care that's making a real difference in the lives of over 1 million Canadians that the Conservatives not just opposed but did everything they could do to scuttle. Mr. Speaker, the Conservative leader just wants to exploit the challenges Canadians are facing while we will solve them.
That's right.
To Freeland, go!
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, he created all of those problems.
Yeah.
And a food program that hasn't served a single meal, or a temporary tiny 10-cent tax cut on a bag of potato chips will not fix what he...
Not a single hiccup when he says that.
Considering that his next plan is to quadruple the carbon tax to 61 cents a litre. You can just picture President Trump calling our businesses, encouraging them to leave Canada and set up south of the border where there is no carbon tax and where other taxes are falling. Again, it's clear why the incoming American president wants to take our jobs. Why does this Prime Minister keep helping him do it?
Dude, he wants to take our country. Canada's about to be absorbed by America.
Honourable Prime Minister.
Let me say it once again, Mr. Speaker. The price on pollution puts more money back in the middle class's pockets across this country than it costs them. The Canada Carbon Rebate is a check that arrives 4 times a year and helps 8 out of 10 Canadians in jurisdictions where it arrives with more money than they pay on the price of pollution. It's how we fight climate change and build a strong economy for the future while putting money in the pockets of Canadians. That is what we are doing, while the Conservative leader wants to abandon not just the environment, but the economy as well.
That's right.
Good. Bent.
The last Conservative government fired 1,100 border officers. That allowed illegal guns and drugs to flow freely into our country. We are all paying the price of that callous Conservative cut. I want those border officers rehired. I want thousands more recruited, and I want their mandate expanded so they can patrol the entire border. Will the Prime Minister do that?
Call an election, dumbass.
Right Honourable.
He's the worst.
Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, my honourable colleague.
He's all ready. He's ready to be an American.
Canadians,
Mr.
conservative
President.
cuts hurt our border security. Conservative cuts just hurt the Canadian economy. That is why it is so bewildering to see the Conservative leader continuing to stand up in cuts for dental care, cuts on housing investments, cuts for the kinds of services and benefits that Canadians need, whether it's a tax break for the next few months or school food programs. The Conservatives only know how to cut. That's not how Canadians prosper.
Ask all members.
They've had 9 years to fix these issues, and now, right before an election, they're finally concerned about them.
5% tariffs threatening to kill Canadian jobs and crush the economy. The Liberals have created border disorder between Canada and the United States. Yesterday, the Minister of Public Safety said that bolstering the power of CBSA to secure our borders is, quote, not a priority. After 9 years, this hands-off approach is no surprise. There's 500,000 illegal people here in Canada. Unprocessed asylum claimants are up 2,500%, and they think 3 million temporary residents are going to leave voluntarily when their visa expires. Where is the Canada First plan to fix the border disorder?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, we have made clear, the Prime Minister just repeated that again a few minutes ago, that we will continue to support the important work done by the women and men who work for the Canadian Border Services Agency and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. We think it was unfortunate the previous Conservative government cut the money available for this important work. We've also said that we're prepared to increase both the human resources and technology and equipment to support the important work they do. We'll do that in collaboration with our American partners, and we still have a lot of confidence in this work that's being done.
That's right.
Yeah, that doesn't sound believable at all.
For Stormont Dundas, South Glengarry.
Here is further proof of the Liberals' border disorder. Today at committee, the Minister of Public Safety was asked, will more CBSA officers be deployed on our border? The minister doesn't know. Will CBSA officers be authorized to patrol between border crossings? The minister doesn't know. Will RCMP officers be redeployed to patrol the border? The minister doesn't know. The only plan the Liberals have is the plan to have a plan. It's creating border disorder. Where is the Canada First plan to fix what they broke?
Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. It would appear the only plan the Conservatives have is to think up silly new rhymes in question period. Mr. Speaker, what we've said...
That's more productive than you guys, though.
A few moments ago, we've said it for many months, that we will continue to invest additional resources in the important work of the CBSA and of the RCMP. We're obviously looking at all ideas that would help strengthen the security posture at our border. We believe that the security of our border is currently ensured. We believe in the integrity of our borders. We believe in working with the Americans and continuing to always look to do more.
That's right.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Shepherd.
The Public Safety Minister said yesterday that bolstering CBSA powers to secure our borders isn't a priority. That's a direct quote from him. Meanwhile, 3 million temporary resident visas are set to expire at the end of next year. Illegal border crossings are rising, and the newly elected U.S. president is threatening a 25% tariff on all Canadian goods. That's an economic challenge that we can't ignore. Where is Canada? Where is the Canada First plan to end this border disorder?
The Honourable Minister.
I don't think Liberals honestly have one.
Immigration and Refugees.
Mr. Speaker, it comes down to this. Do you trust the guy who renegotiated NAFTA with Mr. Trump? Do you trust the guy who secured the border during pandemic of the century? Do you trust the guy who went down on President Trump's playing field to fight for Canadians to secure the border against the guy who spent 20 years making up interesting rhymes, spent 20 years securing one only thing, his own paycheck and a bloated pension?
The Honourable Member for Calgary Shepherd.
Mr. Speaker, after 9 years of breaking the immigration system, do you trust the guy who did this? He has over 260,000 unprocessed asylum claims right now, a record high. That's a 2,502% increase since 2015. There's around 500,000 people in Canada illegally here, a 630% increase in U.S. border control encounters with people illegally attempting to get into the United States, the longest wait times for many visas right now, and a 2 million application backlog. So when will the Liberals stop making up excuses and end the border disorder to help Canadians?
The Honourable Minister for Immigration, Citizenship and Refugees.
I guess broken border was too dumb to reuse today, so they tried something else. Look, you can't make this up. We proposed a set of asylum reforms in May as part of the last budgetary exercise while we were putting money into the Immigration Refugee Board to increase processing. What did they do? They voted against it. Look, same thing last week when they voted against a tax break, the thing they've been harping about for well over a year. Look, Mr. Speaker, these guys, again, and I'll say it, are all flannel and no axe.
I'm just going to ask the members.
It's like they got to work on their zingers.
Dufferin Caledon, please not take the floor unless recognized by the Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the Finance Minister's report card is in. Canadians have the highest consumer debt in the G7. Per capita GDP has fallen for 6 consecutive quarters, and Canadians now make $30,000 less than their American counterparts. This is a made-in-Canada per capita GDP recession. And in the face of global trade and economic uncertainty, the Finance Minister's plan increased taxes on energy, on entrepreneurs, farmers, and physicians. So will this Finance Minister reverse her tax increases so Canadians can keep their jobs and investments at home?
Yeah. Before we get absorbed by America.
Minister for Finance and Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives seem to have an inferiority complex vis-a-vis the United States. But on this side of the House, we are proud to be Canadian. We are proud that the inflation rate in Canada has been within the Bank of Canada's target range all year. We're proud that we have the lowest debt and deficit in the G7, far lower than the United States. And we are proud of our universal single-payer healthcare system, which means Canadians live 4 years longer than our friends south of the border. We're proud to be Canadian. They should be too. Yes, we are proud.
Well, we used to be a lot
The Honourable Member
prouder.
Simcoe North.
Mr. Speaker, every day you turn around, it's another scandal coming from this government. We're proud to be Canadian, and we're going to fix it after the next election. But since the Finance Minister doesn't like answering the complex question, let's start with an easy one. Last year, she made a commitment that the deficit would be no greater than $40.1 billion. Mr. Speaker, this goes exactly to the Finance Minister's credibility. Will she confirm that last year's deficit was less than $40.1 billion, or has she broken yet another deficit promise?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. One moment, please. The Honourable Member from York Simcoe, please.
Uh-oh.
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, if the Conservatives are so keen on supporting Canadians, as they like to claim every single day in this House, I have a great idea for them. Why don't we together give Canadians a tax break for the holidays? That's right. Why don't we lift the GST on prepared foods so a working mom can pick up a rotisserie chicken on the way home, make it easier for parents to buy toys for their kids for Christmas? If the Conservatives were honest, true to their proposed ideals, they would be supporting us in this measure.
Yeah, if the Conservatives... Dude, you are just a crooked piece of garbage, aren't you?
Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General has revealed that this NDP Liberal government has paid out $3.5 billion in taxpayer funds to tens of thousands of people that were never entitled to receive it in the first place. This Prime Minister loves to spend Canadians' money, and he doesn't care if it's wasted or misspent, just as long as he can pose for the photo. Will the Prime Minister admit he has lost control of spending and his only solution is to raise taxes on Canadians?
Yeah. That's all they got.
The Honourable Minister for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians have seen many versions of the Conservative Party leader during the 20 years in office, including the 2021 version that campaigned on the GST holiday. Unfortunately, this version hasn't supported small businesses. Our government is giving Canadians a GST tax break starting December 14th that will benefit retailers across Canada. In fact, the Retail Council of Canada affirmed that our tax break will create major tax savings for Canadians, along with the economic stimulus for our industry. And having more money overall in consumers' wallet should also benefit sellers of other goods not captured in the announcement. We will be there for small business, Mr. Speaker, and that will never change.
The Honourable Member from Charleswood, St. James, Assiniboia, Headingley.
Every day there's a new scandal after 9 years of this NDP Liberal government. That's right. Now the Auditor General reports another billion-dollar boondoggle. $3.5 billion in taxpayers' money was paid to 77,000 people who weren't even eligible under the CEBA program. And Liberals... to boot, Liberals gave Accenture $313 million to run the program without even having to bid on the contract to hire workers in Brazil. Never ascribe to malice that which can be explained by incompetence. When will the Prime Minister stop the incompetence and stand up for taxpayers for a change?
Yeah.
The Honourable Minister for Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises.
Mr. Speaker, I've already addressed this question. What Canadians really want to know is why the leader of the Conservative Party refuses to get his security clearance.
Oh, someone called it. Someone called it at the start of the stream.
Well, the Bloc leader has his security clearance and the Green Party leader has her security clearance. Two former CSIS directors have made it clear there is no substitute for a clearance. He owes his caucus and Canadians an explanation why doesn't he get a security clearance, and what does he have to hide?
Somebody called it at the start of question periods, and I guarantee you Liberals are going to bring this up on the bingo card.
Recognize the Honourable Member with what appears with something that is not normally worn in this House, or that the member is normally worn in this House. I'll ask the Honourable Member to please remove her winter hat.
Dude, she's been wearing the winter hat the whole friggin'... Go ahead. Come on.
After 9 years of this NDP Liberals, it's just more waste and mismanagement. The AG's scathing report slammed the Prime Minister's treatment of seniors. This government broke the New Horizon program. Value for money concerns with identity of nearly half of the approved projects. In one case, the government paid $23,000 for a door in a senior's residence that was never installed. Mr. Speaker, when will this Prime Minister actually start caring for seniors, end the waste, and call an election?
I don't want to say nothing. She's a conservative.
Minister for Labour and for Seniors.
Mr. Speaker, how dare the Conservative Party of Canada stand up in this House and talk about the treatment of seniors. I will remind that member that her former leader, Stephen Harper went to Davos, the World Economic... Instead of going...
And they've since banned it for Conservatives.
To announce to Canadians...
Steve McKinnon is the type of guy to say, do you know who my father is?
Moving to 67 from 65. We reversed that. That member should be ashamed of herself. And we also built the door, Mr. Speaker.
Pierre's since banned anyone going to Davos on the Conservative Party.
Alors, s'il vous plaît.
Order, please.
The NDP leader put on a big phony show this summer on the eve of a by-election, pretending to rip up the coalition deal. And recently he said, quote, the Liberals will always cave to corporate greed and always step in to make sure unions have no power. We couldn't have said it better ourselves. And Conservatives have put forward a motion agreeing with the NDP leader. So Canadians will soon find out whether or not he means anything he ever says, or if he'll sell out union brothers and sisters to keep this corrupt Liberal government in power just so he can keep his pension. So, question to the government, have they put the coalition deal back together so the Prime Minister keeps power and the NDP leader keeps his pension?
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, my question...
I'm sorry. One moment, please. Eric?
There you go. Why does he keep muting? What the hell's going on? He's on a crazy power trip. The Liberals don't even know if their programs work, but because they don't have anything better, they keep asking opposition parties to vote yes. It's such a waste of money.
I will speak to this near the end of after question period, but I'm going to encourage, that was again not about the government business, but I see that I do see that the Honourable Leader of the Government, Government House Leader wants to rise to answer. So the Honourable Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish you had afforded the same courtesy to the Minister of Finance, who also wanted to answer a question. And I think it would be appropriate to make sure that we apply the same standard moving forward. But what I would like to say to the Leader of the Opposition is that we gave him an opportunity to debate that, and instead of taking it, they ran away afraid. So, Mr. Speaker, I am surprised that he's even bringing this up, because when we gave them an opportunity to hold that vote, they said no, Mr. Speaker. But that's just another pattern of their behavior where they say one thing and do another. That's so...
Frigid Freeland, that's so good.
For Regina Capel.
That's just not true. They just got mixed up on what day the debate is going to be had. It's going to be held this Thursday, and the vote will be on Monday, and all Canadians will be watching who's on the side of Canadian workers.
There you go.
Because this Prime Minister launched a brutal assault on workers. He devalued their paychecks with his inflation. He drove up prices with his carbon tax. He's doubled housing costs. He's hiked taxes, canceled big projects that put union members back to work, and issued edicts that undermine their collective bargaining rights. So once again, question to the government, have they put the coalition deal back together so that the NDP will qualify for his pension while Canadian workers suffer?
There you go. He just said it. It's getting tabled and debated on Thursday, and the vote's happening on Monday.
The member seems to be referring to incidents last summer where, I might add, I consulted with the Conservative Party, who were urging,
we're no longer left in limbo,
as we did at the time, to come to the aid of farmers in Saskatchewan and throughout Western Canada who were trying to get what was a bumper crop to the ports and to international markets, which is the pride of Canada, Mr. Speaker. We intervened to save Canadian farmers and to save Canadian union jobs. That's what we did. The Conservatives sat on the sidelines. We'll always stand for Canadian workers.
Years of this Prime Minister, Canadians cannot afford their rent or mortgages. The NDP leader has called the Liberals too weak, selfish, and beholden to corporate interests to fight for Canadians. But it is the NDP leader himself that is keeping the Prime Minister in power. Conservatives have tabled a motion of confidence using the NDP leader's own words. Will the NDP leader stand behind his words, or has the government made another spineless backroom deal at the expense of Canadians?
Perfect. Put Jag in his place.
In the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative members of Parliament are really getting to be pretty ridiculous around here. You know, they have
She called them pretty.
Questions of the government, but instead they choose to play petty politics. But I'll be honest, Mr. Speaker, yesterday I introduced a motion that would give them the opportunity to do that. Remember, the Leader of the Opposition tweeted about that over the weekend, but when given the opportunity, they said no, Mr. Speaker. Why? Because they're too afraid and too weak to actually do what they say, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we're going to stand up for Canadians. We're going to provide real affordability measures, even if they try to stand in our way. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, good job.
Honourable member from Battleford's Lloydminster.
Well, Mr. Speaker, what is ridiculous is Canadians are struggling to feed, heat, and house themselves while the NDP leader waits to get his pension. In a by-election, he claimed to rip up his agreement with the Liberals. Yet the NDP's actions prove that the carbon tax coalition is driven by his pension and the Prime Minister's lust for power. Canadians cannot afford this costly coalition. Will the NDP vote non-confidence, or has the Prime Minister crafted yet another spineless backroom deal?
Wow. That was good. Put some W's down in the chat, huh? That was deserved.
But I will have an opportunity to speak to this after question period. The Honourable Leader of the Government of
Mr. Speaker, it kind of boggles the mind that the Conservatives are talking about pensions for their members when the Leader of the Opposition has a $2 million pension from the House of Commons, Mr. Speaker.
That's it? Give them more, double it.
They say one thing, they do another. You cannot trust these Conservative members of Parliament with anything that they say, because pretty much what they're accusing others of is exactly what they do. Thank you.
Double his pension. Give Pierre more.
the Honourable Member from Kamloops, Caribou Thompson.
Mr. Speaker, Tara D'Souza sexually assaulted a 3-month-old baby. That baby needed reconstructive surgery. Tara D'Souza is in a woman's jail in BC. That woman's jail also has the mother-child program, which allows mothers to raise their children. I visited that jail, and I saw exactly where D'Souza was standing. There was a straight line that took me less than a minute from where D'Souza was standing to the mother-child house. No large fences, a straight pathway. What is this government doing, allowing sex offenders near children in jail?
The Honourable Minister.
Publicly execute sex offenders.
Speaker, the safety and security of children who participate in the mother-child program is obviously a top priority for the Correctional Service of Canada. Mr. Speaker, it's important to understand that this program has existed for decades, including during the time that Mr. Harper was Prime Minister of Canada. There are eligibility criteria and protocols to participate in this program. It includes child welfare screening done by competent provincial authorities. Mr. Speaker, the member opposite should be careful before he tries to politicize such tragic circumstances and these most heinous crimes.
Get rid of sex offenders. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to this channel. It does really help grow the channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.